Okay, let's do another example with empty cars, right? So suppose that we want to print the mean and standard deviation. Okay, calculate and print mean and standard deviation of selected columns of empty cars. Okay. So let's look at the names of empty cars, so then we can select what we want to do with it. Okay. Suppose that we want, okay, for selected columns of empty cars, if we want for MPG, HP, and DRAD. So that is DRAD. So what is DRAD? Well, if you go to the terminal and then if you do a question mark of the data set, okay, it will give you a description of what that is. Okay, so if you question mark empty cars, okay, so now we can look at what that. So rear axle ratio, that's what that is, whatever that is, I don't know what that is. But anyway, so we want the mean and standard deviation of these three columns. Okay. Now we're going to use a for loop, okay, which is actually the next chapter's topic, but this gives you a taste, an early warning, if you will. Okay, so we need to set up, okay, the columns that we want. We can use the column index or the labels. Okay, we're going to set this up as labels. I mean a column index. Okay, so we say cell calls, selected calls, that is columns, selected columns. We want column 1, right? And then HP 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay. Okay. Once we set that up, then we can say for I in cell calls. Okay, so this iteration should be within brackets. Okay. So we haven't run that yet. Okay. All right. So 1, 4, and 5. Right. Okay. Let's do a test here. Okay. So now what needs to go in here, the code to be executed through this loop should go within the curly brackets. Okay. When you type one curly bracket, or Studio will automatically put another curly bracket for you. So then you can press enter, then you know that you have set the starting and the ending point of the code, and let's say we'll just print I, just to make sure that we see what we get. So we get the value in. Okay, it's not the index. Like it doesn't give you 1, 2, 3. It gives you 1, 4, 5. Okay, which is good. Okay, so now we can say, all right. So we're going to iterate through the values of the selected columns, and then we're going to print. Okay. So let's print that. Okay, so we're going to do print sprintf. Okay. All right. So we're going to put a format string here, and we're going to find the mean, right? Okay, so you're going to find the mean of empty cars of, okay, so we're going to use the column that is coming from the for loop, whatever the I value is. First time I will be 1, second time I will be 4, the third time I will be 5. Okay. So since we're going to be using the index number of the column and not the name of the column, you have to do that. So now that will give you the mean of column I of empty cars. Okay. And then say we want SD of empty cars, right? And again, column I. Okay. Now this is going to give you the mean and the SD, but it doesn't tell you the mean and SD of what. So in front of that, we need to really print the name. So here we want to print the name. So we can say names empty cars. Okay, so that will be all the names. Okay, and we want the name corresponding with I. So this will give you the name of the column. This will give you mean of that column, and this will give you the standard deviation of that column. Okay. So now, what format string we want? Okay. The first one is a name, it's a text, so we'll say %s. Okay. And then we can use \t as tab. Okay. So it's going to tab, all right. And then let's say %7.2f for the mean, and then %8.2. Yeah, okay. We'll experiment with it. And then write lines A. Okay, let's run this and then see what happens. Okay, so it gives you MPG, HP, DRAD, and then there is a comma here where that we don't want that comma. Okay. Now, what about the name for the columns? Okay. So we need to, outside the for, okay, after setting up the columns, we can say, okay, write lines, okay, and then just say variable, and then tab, average, tab, standard deviation, and close quote. Okay, so that will write the top line. Okay. All right, so now we need to adjust. Okay. We can, we can do a couple of things. One is instead of tabbing, we can put just hot space. Okay. And then adjust. If tabbing is tabbing too far out. Okay, so let's say that we want
that to be 15. Okay, so that brings the average over and then the standard deviation over as well. Okay. Now here, instead of tab T, if you just did like that, okay, hard space, then you probably want to increase that a little. So you experiment with it until you are satisfied, and there you have it.